Hey, I'm Rob from JestaThaRogue.com and I'm going to show you how to play Kingdom Rush Rift in Time. This is a cooperative game for 1 to 4 players. It's designed by Helena Hope, Sen Lim and Jesse Wright and is published by Lucky Duck Games. Your kingdom is under attack from advancing hordes of game-controlled enemies. Players cooperatively use their powerful heroes and of course their aggressive towers in this tower defense game to damage and destroy the enemies before they can cause harm to the kingdom. Complete the goal for the scenario you are playing before the kingdom is destroyed to win. Firstly, the base game comes with transparent building site cards, but I'll be using the optional extra 3D cardboard towers in this video as they are much easier to see on camera. Now, I will be using a couple of upgraded components in this video, but the building towers are the one that look the most different, so I'm just letting you know. Kingdom Rush is played over several scenarios with rules introduced as you play through them. In this video, I'll be showing you the rules from the first 5 scenarios, which shows you pretty much everything you need to know. But I will only be showing images of scenario 1, I won't spoil any story elements at all, so no need to worry about that. And as the solo rules to this game differ slightly, I'll be covering those changes at the end of this video. Setup can be divided into 2 sections: general setup that applies to every game you play, and scenario setup that applies to the scenario you're playing. Let's start with general setup. First, sort the towers into their levels by damage type. There are 4 of each level 1, 3 of each level 2, 2 of each level 3. Leave the level 4 towers for now. Put the relevant damage tokens or soldiers near the respective tower type. Players take the building sites of their player colour and a matching colour token as a reminder. Players choose a hero and unfold the player board and add the heart to the maximum health space on the right of that track. Take the hero miniature and their relevant damage tiles. Take the starting towers as instructed in the bottom right of the player board depending on the player count. For example, in a 3-player game, Malik starts with Bombard and Militia. Players take those buildings plus their hero card as their starting hand. As a quick note, the scenario may have a say in which heroes you can use. For example, in scenario 1 you can't use Lilith, so keep an eye out for that in the hero section of the scenario. Okay, let's look at scenario setup. Lay out the path tiles exactly as they are shown for the scenario. This is scenario 1, which uses 4 tiles. The tiles have a number of them to help you find the right one. The map for the player count will show you where to put the building sites for the different colours. For example, in a 3-player game you use 4 green, 4 yellow, 3 purple building sites and they're all placed in their specific spaces as shown. Now it's important to note that the specific colours don't matter, but where the specific colour groupings are around the board do, so keep that in mind. From scenario 5 onwards you will have a white building site owned by all players. I'll explain how this differs later. Place the exit tile in the correct place shown on the map setup. Choose a difficulty level from the 4 shown at the bottom of page 3 of the scenario booklet, 1, 2 or 3 stars for the heroic challenge. Just so you know, there is also an iron challenge where you play the heroic challenge level with an additional rule hindrance determined by the scenario. Level 3 is the suggested starting level and you can adjust from there depending how you get on. The level will show how much health your kingdom starts with. For example, on the 3-star level it starts with 4 hearts. Put that many hearts next to the exit tile. From scenario 2 you're able to select hero special ability tiles. These abilities have a level of either 1 or 2 and the scenario will let you know which you can choose from. The player setup box will let you know how many each player can have for the player count. Put those you have selected face up on your player board and return the rest to the box. From scenario 4, players will be able to select spell tiles. These spells have a power level of 1 or 2 and the scenario will let you know which you can choose from. The player setup box will let you know how many spells the players can choose for the scenario. Put those you have selected face up on the table and return the rest to the box. From scenario 3, you're able to select level 4 towers. The scenario will tell you which ones to add. Put them above the corresponding column for the damage type in the tower layout. Now we need to gather up the hordes and portals and create the spawn stack. For hordes, the scenario will tell you which wave number the cards are from and what colour they are and how many you need. For example, in scenario 1 you need 3 green wave 0 cards. These are the greenback cards with a 0 in the bottom left corner. You also need 4 yellow and 4 red wave 1 cards. Those with a 1 on the back in the bottom left in those colours. If there's ever more copies of a particular card than you need, just shuffle them up, take the number you need and put the rest back in the box. Portal cards have 2 numbers on the back. The first, top middle, is the scenario number, so these are needed for scenario 1. The second, top right, is used during the next step of setting up this deck. Now we have the horde cards and the portal cards, we need to put them in a deck called the spawn stack. The diagram in the scenario will show you the order the cards are stacked from top to bottom. The spawn stack in this diagram will not use all the cards required, some of those cards will start on the board as we'll see shortly. After building the spawn stack, place it in its place around the map with the spawn tokens as shown in the map setup. In future scenarios you have multiple entrances and multiple spawn stacks, but in scenario 1 you have 1 spawn stack, 1 entrance, 2 spawn tokens, all in the same place. The player count map will also show where your starting hordes will be placed. For example, in scenario 1 the 3 wave 0 horde cards are placed in trays and put on these 3 positions. Make sure to keep the colour line on the bottom of the Horde card parallel to the exit at all times. There's also a section called Special Mechanisms that show special rules for that scenario. I'm not going to spoil all of those, but I will be covering those that are basically teaching new rules that apply to the first 5 scenarios. Okay, we finally have the board set up, we're good to go. A game round is played over 6 phases, but phase 1 is skipped in the first round, so I'll go through phases 2 to 6 and then loop back round to phase 1. Phase 2 is to play towers and hero cards. This is where players get to do their actions. At the start of this phase, the first thing you do is regenerate any heroes that were knocked out in the previous round. Stand the mini up and set their health to max. Put the hero card on their hero board. These actions will be explained in a bit, but the turn a hero regenerates, they can't move, perform actions, or recover. So players can take any of the 3 actions in any order. Play tower cards, pass tower cards, or play their hero card. These can be done in any order by all players. There's no turn order, but one action must be fully resolved before you can start another. Play a tower card, choose one from your hand and put it on a building site of your colour and attack. White building sites are owned by all players, so anyone can build on them. Towers of other types can be built on top of soldier towers, and soldier towers can be built on non-soldier towers, but there is a max of 2 towers per building site and only the site owner can do this. Also, you can't build on a building site if a hero is standing on it. And the newly built tower will immediately activate and attack, so let's look at the symbols on the towers. A single arrow is an adjacent space. For example, this mage tower fires this 3 square piece into an adjacent space in the direction of the arrow. Multiple arrows are indirect. For example, the sharpshooter can fire diagonally left or diagonally right, 1 space, but can fire 1 or 2 spaces straight forward. You'll notice the sharpshooter has 3 different 1 square damage tiles. This means it can attack 3 times into any of its 4 available target spaces. These can be up to 3 different target spaces, but if the damage tiles have a plus sign like this arcane wizard tower, both of the damage towers will need to attack the same target space. The target icon means these golden longbows can target any space on the map. When placing damage tiles, they must be placed in the same orientation as shown on the tower. They can't overlap other towers, soldiers and heroes and must stay fully within the tray. This rotating arrow is for free manipulation. You may freely flip and rotate damage tokens as required before placing them on the tray. Damage tiles are infinite. If none of the correct colour or shape are available, use other tiles to make them up. Some towers, like the militia, place soldiers that cover a single space. Soldiers can only be placed on enemies and not empty spaces on the Horde card. Those that cannot be placed are lost. Now soldiers are limited, but you can move one from another tray if the supply is empty. Also remember that soldiers have 1 health. Let's look at the attack and defense symbols. The sword in the bottom left of a tower, like this archer, is for physical attacks, shown with the red attack arrows. The fireball in the bottom left of this tower, like the mage, is for magical attacks, shown with blue arrows. The purple flame sword in the bottom left of the tower, like the ranger hideout, is true damage, shown with purple arrows. These can cover both physical and magical defense. So let's look at defense, starting with the no sword icon. Physical resistance, these can't be covered by physical damage. The no magic icon, magical resistance, they can't be covered by magical damage. The no soldier icon is deadly, and these can't be covered by soldiers or heroes. So attacking Horde cards is one thing, but there are some extra rules when attacking portal cards. See that number in the centre? That square cannot be covered. A tower must be that level or higher to be able to attack the portal. For example, a tower must be level 2 or higher to attack this portal. Any tower that damages a portal is immediately turned face down. A tower doesn't have to target a portal, but it must if it's the only valid target it has. Unless all the enemies on a portal card are covered, then it doesn't have to. Also remember, a hero cannot damage a portal tile at all. Now instead of playing a tower card, you can instead pass one. Upgrade a tower card from your hand 1 level by returning it to the supply and taking one from the next level up, and pass it to another player. That player puts it face down in their incoming tower slot on their player board. Towers are limited by the number in the supply, and you may pass a tower to another player without upgrading it by placing it in their incoming tower slot face down. The final action is for a player to play their hero card. Play the card onto the hero board to activate. A hero may move and perform 1 action in any order. A hero can move into an adjacent space once for each movement point they have. Movement points are shown with the winged boots icon under the hero's health. Now, adjacent is always both orthogonal and diagonal for all actions in this game. And if you stop mid-movement to take an action, you lose the rest of your movement points. You can't move off the map or end movement on a face-up tower card. You can walk through portals, but you can't end your movement on one. If a hero is starting their turn off the board, the first movement point is to put the hero on a path space next to an exit. If movement ends on a Horde tray, they're considered engaged. Place the hero covering a 2x2 space. Heroes deal true damage, so can be placed on physical and magical resistance, but not on deadly spaces as mentioned earlier. And if there's not enough space, they can't end their movement on a Horde tray. After moving, choose an orientation for your hero mini. This is going to be important for dealing damage. Before or after movement, you can take an action. Either perform a basic attack, perform a special ability, or recover. Basic attacks are printed on the player board. A basic melee attack, shown with a fist, will add the damage tiles shown to the enemy they are engaged with. You then activate their basic attack ability. For example, Malik will add a 1 square damage tile to adjacent hordes for each empty square their 2x2 damage tile covers. Basic ranged attacks, shown with arrows, work the same as the towers, with the direction the mini is facing showing you which way is forward. Ranged attacks can't attack the tray engaged with the hero, but they can target adjacent trays in the same way towers do. To activate a special ability, complete the instructions, then flip the tile face down. For example, Oleria has Light the Wind. They take their attack and the damage token shown as normal, then they can choose any hero, including themselves, to make a basic attack action. Now, instead of attacking or using an ability, a hero can recover. To recover, simply flip any face down ability tiles face up and set the hero's health to max. During this phase, players can use any face up spells they have available to them, then return them to the box. For example, Rain of Fire places the 2 damage tiles shown in any single horde tray. Then the tile is discarded. Spells have a unique looking damage tile, so just use any tiles you have available to you to mark the damage. Also, you can't use spells to attack bosses or portals. Phase 3 is to destroy horde trays that have been defeated. This is done in 3 steps. Destroy any horde tray where every enemy icon is covered and gain crystals. Return all damage tokens and soldiers on the horde tray to the supply. Flip over the horde card, add a number of crystals shown at the top of this card to the exit tile and discard it. For example, destroying one of those Wave 0 green horde cards will gain you 1 crystal. The crystal supply is limited, so if you can't add in more to the exit tile, you miss out. 2. If a hero is on that tray, it takes 1 damage but is returned to that space on the board. Heroes take damage by moving their heart icon down 1 space. Step 3 depends on if you destroy the last portal. You'll finish this round and see if you win. Phase 4 is to advance horde trays. First, look for enemies with heal icons. These will heal any damage from that tray. Simply remove all damage tiles from the tray. Now you'll move each tray 1 space, starting from the closest to the exit, remembering to keep the purple line parallel to the exit at all times. Trays with a soldier or a hero on stop the tray from moving, but they all take 1 damage. Soldiers have 1 health, so will be returned to the supply. Enemies with double arrows move twice. Trays with 2 movement points will deal 1 damage per move and will only move if empty. If after their first movement point the tray is empty, they'll be able to move their second movement point. If a hero is on the tile, they'll take 2 damage to prevent 2 movement points. By the way, if your hero reaches 0 health, remove them from the board immediately and put it on the player board, laying down. And they'll come back into play at the beginning of phase 2, as mentioned earlier. If a space is blocked by another tray, the tray jumps to the next available space. If that next space has a hero, the heroes move 1 adjacent space to an empty space or a building site. If they can't move this way, the heroes return to the player board. With forked paths, start with the trays closest to the lowest spawn point number first, then go up. The example on page 15 of the rulebook visibly explains this priority order for movement better than I can. If the enemy has a target icon, it means they are a deadeye. After moving, they deal 1 damage to each hero adjacent to their new space. If a horde reaches the exit, lose 1 heart for each uncovered enemy. If an enemy is partially covered, they count as successful and deal their full damage. The tray is discarded, but you still gain the crystals on the back of the card. Phase 5 is to pick up tower cards and hero cards. Return face down tower cards on building sites to the supply. Pick up face up tower cards from your building sites, tower cards from incoming towers pile, and your hero card from the board. Players discuss which player will get any face up tower cards on the white building site. Phase 6 is to spend crystals to buy new towers. Cooperatively, players spend 2 crystals for any available level 1 tower from the supply and 3 for level 2 towers. The cost is shown in the difficulty level box and is the same for all levels. And players decide amongst themselves who gets any purchased towers in this phase. Okay, that's the end of the round. If you completed the objective and get to this point and the kingdom is still alive, you win. Usually the goal is to destroy all the portals, but the scenario will let you know what the goal is. Also, if any portal reaches the kingdom, you lose immediately. But let's just say you haven't won, you need to start a new round, which means skipping back round to phase 1, which we skipped before, which is to spawn new hordes. Flip over the top card of the spawn stacks in numerical order from low to high. Add the card to a tray and place it in the first space of the map next to its spawn stack. Again, spawn with a purple line parallel with the nearest exit. If the first space is full, spawn it in the next available path space, which might be straight out of the exit into the kingdom if you're unlucky. If the next available space has a hero, the heroes move 1 adjacent space to an empty space or building site. If they can't, they are returned to the player board instead. And then you continue on to phase through and continue through until either you win or you lose. And that's the big bulk of the rules. Now there are more, of course, but they are drip fed to you page by page from scenario 6 onwards. Okay, on to solo play, and there are a few changes to the rules. You pick 1 hero as your main hero as normal, but the rulebook advises choosing a melee based hero. You create a hero bench by choosing 3 other heroes. Each one can be used once per game and only 1 can be used per round. Select 1 available benched hero, spawn them anywhere and use their basic attack. At the end of the round, the hero is removed from the game. In a solo game, you have 3 different colour building sites, but each round you choose 1 colour. You can't build on that colour building site this round. Also, you can't choose the same colour building site in sequential turns. And that's all the differences in a solo game, and that is Kingdom Rush: A Rift in Time, a cooperative tower defence game. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when a new video goes live. You can follow me on Twitter, Insta, Twitch and YouTube at JestaThaRogue, and finally find the blog at JestaThaRogue.com. I'll be Rob, aka JestaThaRogue, and I'll see you soon.